Hey there, so let's get right into it. Demoralization plays a very important aspect in your life. Demoralization is used on you in many ways, but mostly from the media. Why is it used? Mostly to keep you in a weakened state mentally. So what is demoralization? Easy enough. Demoralization, in the sense that I'm using it, is the lowering of your morale. But it also has another meaning that I'll get to later. Let's talk about that version of demoralization which is used in warfare. It's supposed to be used in warfare against your enemies. That is not always the case these days. Demoralization is a form of psychological warfare. The goal is, obviously, to weaken the spirit and morale of your opponents. This can cause them to become depressed. It can also cause them to just give up without a fight, all of these things. You cannot function very well when you're demoralized or depressed, and they're very similar. I would say your mental output is at maybe 10 to 20% if you're heavily demoralized, whereas if you were in a positive, empowered state of mind, you would be in the high 90%. Now, if you're demoralized, it doesn't mean you're always limited. You may have moments where you break through. So let's get into the how and why the media in this country uses demoralization on you. This is where things get interesting. Why is our own media using such heavy demoralization tactics on us, only one of those being the virus? Well, it's to keep us down and probably ultimately to prevent an uprising. But there's more to it than that. We're also just being demoralized in general because, and this is able to be proven by defectors from China who admit as much, China owns some of our media. I have no idea if they own all of it, but they do own some of it. So many things are used by China to attack you as an individual and your nation. But this video is just about demoralization. Wikipedia itself also admits that demoralization involves propaganda. Propaganda is being used on a global, national, and local level on you, and demoralization is a part of that. So let's now get into the other definition of demoralization. This one is going to require another video for sure, or multiple, but the other version of demoralization, and these are not mutually exclusive, is the eroding of your morals. There have also been many attempts over a very long period of time in this country to demoralize your morals. It's at least many decades long, but is extremely noticeable to a fault within the past 10 years or so. I say to a fault because, as many have said, they're overplaying their hand and making things way too obvious, which is not at all how they operated in the past. Anyway, the point of eroding your morals, and again this is verifiably done by other enemy countries who have infiltrated this country, is simply to make sure you are not a strong human being. Eroding morals has many effects. It can affect how you reproduce, and if you reproduce, it can affect how you treat your fellow citizens, it can affect the decisions you make on a moral level, and when these decisions are bad, this has a ripple effect on everything within your immediate circle, and in a very small way, the nation's moral character as a whole. If many people in the country over time have their morals subverted and corrupted, the strength of that nation weakens. They're no longer unified as a nation, but instead out for themselves in hedonistic and narcissistic ways. It's almost impossible for you to have avoided all of the demoralization, both kinds, that have been trying to screw you up. You have to be pretty naive at this point to not know your own country is demoralizing you, but those in the know have known it's been going on for quite a long time, just a lot more subtly. But this video is about self-development. Obviously it's important to know what demoralization is, though. In the circles I run in, this is considered pretty basic stuff, but the basics of things are often the most important. Anyway, so in a self-development frame of mind, and I've been in the self-development community for over 10 years, take the approach of first of all avoiding demoralization, but if you're confronted with demoralization, don't let it dampen your spirit. The easiest way is just that saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Just let it flow off of you like water off a duck's back. Acknowledge the events that are occurring. For example, if you're getting demoralized because certain ideas are being pushed on kids that should not be, acknowledge that that's fucked up and indefensible, but don't let it weaken you. That is the entire point of it, to weaken you in both ways of demoralization, and also the direct target, which would be the kids here. You're the indirect target, they're the direct target. Steel yourself. Be like steel, fortified, not easily swayed, able to take a big blow or multiple blows. If you do get demoralized, which is very hard to avoid these days, serious kudos if you've managed to avoid it, by the way. It's important to undo the demoralization quickly. If you have your head hung low, mumbling, "Man, everything's so screwed up, this is all so pointless," you're not doing anybody any favors, especially yourself. Surely you want these things to change, right? Being depressed and demoralized is the exact opposite path to take to help change these things in some way. So if you catch yourself being demoralized, a method I've always liked is to convert any depression you have into anger. Now, I'm sure this sounds dangerous. I won't lie to you, it is to some extent. It can definitely blow up in your face. But people really underestimate what anger can empower you to do. I've seen an 18-year-old, one of the angriest dudes I've ever known, rise up the ranks at our store to general manager, and it was very obvious what was primarily driving him to do that was anger. He really wore his emotions on his sleeve. The anger in him caused him to want to be better than everybody around him, to absolutely crush them at whatever task they were doing. If he had just been even-keeled and normal, it's really unlikely he would have been remotely as good. Most likely, he would have just been another average employee or have quit by now. So, the point I'm saying, anger is dangerous. It's like playing with fire. But if you can learn to harness it and control it, and keep it within you in a very compressed manner, it's insanely powerful. The phrase, the fire that burns within you, exists for a reason. So if you're demoralized and depressed, any sadness you have needs to be changed over to anger. If you find yourself sad about something, be mad instead. Conveniently enough, they're also incredibly similar words, sad and mad. They absolutely want you to be docile and sad rather than angry and motivated to take action. Demoralization is on overdrive in the 2020 era, so that's why I thought it was so important that this was the first video I made in my self-development series. One of the absolute first things you have to do is make sure the propaganda machine is not mentally wrecking you. So, once you've made sure you're not demoralized, what's the opposite of demoralization? Moralization. Now, interestingly, it's not quite that simple because the official definition of moralization is this. That applies to the second definition of demoralization, but not the first one. Now, editing definitions is dangerous, but in this particular case, I'm going to be using moralization to mean improving one's morale or spirit. Very interestingly, one of the official definition pages of moralization has the writer of the definition calling moralization annoying. When you know as much as I know about how screwed up this country is and how it's been attacked for a very long time from within, you realize that's most likely someone trying to make moralization seem like not a good idea to do. So even definition websites are not safe from the subversion of our society. Anyway, let's get into moralization, which I'm going to be using in the way embolden, strengthen, and spirit would be used. To moralize yourself, one of the easiest and most accessible ways is to make sure the media you're watching is empowering you, motivating you, making you want to do great things. One of the success people I watch got into a point that took me a while to realize, and I feel this point is missed by the vast majority of people. He only wanted to watch media where people were winning and succeeding. He noted that a lot of American media is about tragedy, people losing, people getting killed, horrific things happening that are disturbing and demoralizing to the viewers. This is an aspect of demoralization, though one they have actually managed to pull off in a subtle way. So obviously what you instead do is the opposite. Try to engage in and absorb the values of media that is empowering, media where people are winning, media with happy couples, media with motivating speeches, media with people overcoming very difficult challenges, media that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning with a fire under your ass and a fire within you. Media is just one way, obviously. Another good way to moralize yourself is to undertake challenges that you can realistically complete and then ladder up to more difficult challenges, gradually increasing your tolerance for pain. This moralizes you because you have a foundation of things you've done that make you happy and give you a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. If this aspect of your life is empty, it's extremely likely and, well, logical that you'll become demoralized and depressed long term. Another easy way to moralize yourself, and this has to do with media again, is just watch some comedy. Be careful about what comedy you watch and what it's doing to your morale and morals, but if it makes you laugh and it's not telling you to do evil things, go for it. Even if it is telling you to do that stuff, you can just ignore it. You shouldn't just automatically throw something away because one small aspect of it isn't ideal. Music obviously is another fantastic way to moralize yourself. Books are a very underrated way to moralize you, probably the most powerful if you really apply what you learn from the good ones. Good times with friends and family moralize you, achieving in your career moralizes you, exercise most definitely moralizes you, not living paycheck to paycheck greatly increases your freedom and moralizes you, having a pet moralizes you, doing good things for others moralizes you, and finally, undoing bad things others have done moralizes you. And there's obviously a lot more I haven't mentioned, you have to probably figure them out. So the effect of not being demoralized, then being moralized, is very powerful. Your mental strength and spiritual strength, if you want to believe in that, will massively strengthen. And you can just keep hacking away at any aspect of you that's weighed down and keep reinforcing what moralizing media teaches you. It's very important to rewatch or reread things. You'll always find new things. You'll always be a little bit different from when you last watched it and see things from a new perspective. The elites running the show do not want a country full of non-demoralized people. One of their worst nightmares is the majority of us are moralized and know where to direct it.